invites you to their home, because people don't have to invite you in the first place, and then they don't have to invite you back. So always be grateful for the invitations that are afforded to you, and I am truly, truly excited to be here, and I thank you for the invitation. And I'm sitting here listening at Tanisha, the one who don't speak. I was like, yeah, she let the cat out of the bag. We got your number now. Got all kind of Bible studies with you. Amen. And I'm listening at the story that she was telling, and so it made what I have to present just kind of fall in place. And so I want to talk about loving the person within, the woman that's in your own skin. Growing up in Alabama, in the community that I grew up in, it was not popular to be dark-skinned. And so, as a child, growing up, I was skinny, which is hard to believe now. But anyway, leave that alone, okay? And I was dark. And so I was always made fun of. And so it developed issues with self-confidence as I grew up, in my teenage years. And so if we allow those things to continue to linger on, they take us into adulthood, and we still, that same little kid, as Vivian was saying, that we grew up with all these issues. And so I had to learn to, first of all, like me. And then I had to learn to love me. But the woman standing before you today, honey, you couldn't tell me nothing. You would never even thought that I had that issue, because I learned how to take care of me. Amen? So we're going to talk about loving the person within. Now, one of my favorite TV shows to watch is CSI. Not only because I'm royally intrigued with crime drama series, which I am, but for this show in particular because of the reasoning which is based on. Some of the things that you will always hear them say is, what does the evidence say? And the other thing that always catches me is the importance of which that is based on. And in this theme song, it always comes on with, who are you? Who? Amen. Come on, somebody. It asks that question of who am I? And so that's a question that's extremely important in order for us to become the unstoppable women that God has created us to be. We must have a fierce self-awareness about who we are. And we have to learn how to stand firm in who that individual is. Not the person sitting next to you, but the person that's sitting in your seat right now. Who is that individual? What do you say to yourself in the morning? That person that you meet in the mirror at dark 30? When you wake up and you got to run to the bathroom or whatever, and you got sleep all in your eyes, what do you say to that individual when you look up? I used to look up at that person and say, oh my God, girl, what's wrong with your hair? Not even realize that, look, you've been asleep all night. You're not supposed to look like a beauty queen that just stepped out, on the runway or stuff. But seriously, what do you say to that person before the makeup goes on? Before the weave gets tightened up? Before we put on those clothing articles and exit into society, what do you say to her? So we must have a fierce awareness about who we are. I often say that I am president and CEO of the Yvonne Howard Corporation.
I love it.
Perhaps you may be thinking, you're a corporation? And my answer would be yes. When you consider one of the definitions for a corporation would be a group of persons united or regarded as united in one body. So there are many of me all rolled into the person that's standing before you right now. I'm a woman of God. I'm a wife, a mother, a grandma, a sister, aunt, cousin, pastor, student, friend, sailor, cook, maid, ATM, athlete, all of that rolled into the one body that's standing here. And by my definition, that's a corporation all across the board. Amen. And see, some therapists might call it a multiple personality disorder, but I just call it me. Okay? And so, for most women, we occupy a significant number of positions simultaneously, yet we must be cognitive of what the catalyst is and for who we are. You know, what drives us? What are our passions? What are we passionate about? Now, being and becoming a woman of unstoppable proportion, one must know who they are. And sometimes that may be defined as being confidently different.
Okay.
Come on, somebody. You know, because none of us are the same. Everybody in here is different, but you have to be confident in whoever you are.
Yes.
So I often say, you came along too late to tell me who I am not. Because I have realized who I am.
Yes. Yes.
So you don't get to define me. So we have to be comfortable in who we are and not be driven by another man's or another woman's opinion over who you should be.
Okay.
Hello, somebody.
Yes.
You have to know
Yes.
who you are. Now, my life, as it turns out, just seemed to be aligned all outside the normal box of things, of your stereotypical views of some areas of society. Now, I've been married to the same man for 32 years come this December. Hello. And I served 20 years of active duty military service. Now, we've been around for a minute. And so back in the day when we would be stationed wherever we were stationed, by my husband being a dependent and me being an active duty member, you know, we would go places, say PSD, I needed to get something to take care of. And they would always ask me what my husband's social security number was. And so after a while of just being, you know, tired of being asked that question when my husband would have nothing to do with the military, they asked me what was my husband's social security number. And so I gave them my husband's social security number. And they said, well, ma'am, that number is not coming up in our system. I said, well, perhaps if you ask the right question, you might get the right answer.
Okay.
Now, would you like the military sponsor's social security number? I said, and that would be me.
Okay. Yes.
And so I proceeded to give her my social security number, and boy, it was like Christmas lights going on. Everybody that's associated to me popped up in that system. And so that's just one stereotypical view of how we tend to put people in places where they don't necessarily fit. Now, I am a female pastor. Now, how many of y'all know that's not really in the box for a whole lot of people? Hello. We go to places now, and we are in these settings where all of these pastors and their wives are in it, and we get asked the question, you know, well, no, we don't get asked the question. They just automatically assume that my husband is the pastor.
Wow.
And so we sit and we go through these conversations, and sooner or later, you know, he said, well, you know what? I'm not the pastor. She's the pastor. He said, but I'm the first man. You know, about being comfortable in who you are. And so we go through life and we have people put labels on us, but you really have to stand firm in who you say that you are. So now if I were not secure in my own skin, I would allow the mindset of others to stop me from doing what I'm called to do. But I refuse to do that. And so being and becoming unstoppable requires balance. Now, even the most seemingly perfect woman has some visible and invisible imperfections about herself. And the apparent imperfect woman has some areas of perfection at work in her life. So balance is into each life, some rain is going to fall. Now, living here in the Pacific Northwest, it happens a little more often than not, and we just have to deal with it. But we can't allow that to stop us. So what I say in that sense is to get you an umbrella and some designer Coach boots and sashay your tail down to Walmart like the sun is shining and it's 80 degrees outside. You cannot allow that to stop you. Amen. Because just think, if we got stopped by the rain, no one would ever go outside. It's still at special times of the season. We'll all be just cooped up inside, but you can't allow that to stop you. Just like you can't allow the situations of life to stop you. Now, being ever so mindful that our destiny is far too great to allow the interference of small things. We're not in the situation of being, we cannot afford to be identified by our situation. We cannot allow ourselves to be identified by our circumstance. We are not the controlled chaos that we dwell in for a lot of time. So, when I was looking at the word unstoppable, I went and I found a word that meant each letter in the word unstoppable.
Come on now.
So, for you, I put unyielding. It's going to take more than this situation to stop me. The S is for sage. I am a woman of profound wisdom. T, I'm tenacious. I'm not giving up that easy. O is for originality. I love being me, so I'm not going to try to be you.
Okay.
P is purposeful. There is a plan for my life. The other P is persistence. I'm forging toward my goal, and I'm just not going to stop. The A is for amazing. I'm all that in a balanced kind of way. L is for a lady of liberation in every aspect of the word. And E is encourager. I will be the one on the sideline encouraging you to go that extra mile. With pom-poms in tow, girl, with my raw black and white shoes on and all, I'm going to be the one on the sideline that's telling you, you can go that extra mile. You can jump a little bit higher. You can go a little bit further. You can dig a little bit deeper to find out who it is and what it is that drives you. Amen? Because we are unstoppable. We live and breathe potential at levels that are designed to blow the roof off of mediocrity.
Okay.
Don't settle for being mediocre. You don't have to be. Because you have something on the inside of you that no one else can do it like you. You know what I learned? I learned a valuable lesson when I was stationed in Okinawa, Japan. Now, you got all of these women shopping at the Navy Exchange. So it's bound to be 2 or 3 women in church on Sunday with the same dress on. And you know how it is, how some people say, well, girl, you got that dress, so I ain't going to wear mine. Quite the contrary. I'm going to put my dress on. You know why? Because you can't wear that dress the way I can wear that dress. You know what I mean? It has nothing to do with us having the same thing because we're 2 different people. We're individuals. What do you bring to that dress? What do you bring to that dress? You bring a uniqueness that is only you. You bring what God placed on the inside of you that no one else can do but you. So what? You got 7 people with the same thing. That's okay. Because we're all different. We're all unique in our own little special way. So I encourage you to cultivate whatever that thing is that's on the inside of you that's going to help you to be the best you that you can be. And that is going to make you unstoppable. Now, a few things I want to leave with you is to know your limitations but never be limited by them. Go where you are celebrated and not tolerated.
Okay.
Growing up in Alabama, they coined this term that they call nice nasty. That's when you get around people that don't really like you, and they just nasty, but they just nice with it. Don't go them places. Don't hang around those people, because they don't mean you no good. And because you don't have to. You know what? People are going to celebrate the individual that you are. Somebody's going to accept you for who you are. Don't matter. I don't care who it is. You make them celebrate you. Don't get me started up in here. Look, refuse to be refused and deny to be denied. Don't settle. It might not turn out right the first 6 times, but that's okay. Keep going. It reminds me of that early model of TomTom GPS trackers that we used to use. You know, when it would give you directions and tell you to go up 6 miles and make a left turn, and you go up 6 miles and you keep going. Now, the machine did not tell you to abort the journey. It did not tell you to abandon the efforts. It simply said, recalculating.
Oh, my.
It said, honey, you can turn that thing around and recalculate the route and still get to where you will go.
Yes.
And that's what life. Nothing is going to always turn out the way that we want it the first 6 or 7 times. But I'm here to tell you, you can recalculate that route, and you can still end up at your goal. Because your destination is just too important to just abandon. You know, the enemy wants you to abandon your dreams. He wants you to abandon the things that's in your heart. He wants you to look at them as if they're too hard. But I stand here before you and tell you there is nothing too hard for God. And if he put it on the inside of you, it shall come forth. See, sometimes we give up before the miracle happens. And we never see the manifestations of what should have been. So I would like to leave you with these final words. An eagle sitting on a tree is never afraid of the branch breaking, because her trust is not on the branch, but on the strength of its own wings. So always, always believe